everyone, Tammy Klinger, also known as Tambarambaa, here to share another art journal page with you today using Art by Marlene products. So I'll just go through what I'm using. I'm using Text Play stamp, and then this is the Fauna and Flora die cut. I have the face-to-face stamps and also the flower stack stamps. And then the paints, I've got Peony and Sand. I've also got some brighter colours as well. So I've got Punk, I've got Azure, I've got Cheesy, I've got Royal, and I've got Smurf and Kissy. And I've also used black and white in there, which I'm grabbing now. And of course the sticky glue. And then I'm using the largest size album, which is the artist size album. So just grabbing a page out of there, and I decide to put it on the back of the front one that I've done. And as I think I explained to you last time that I created a video, I've been back from travelling and I'm still in that space of really struggling to find my everyday and to find my routine and to make time for art and to just be, you know, inspired. So today I thought I would play with this face of Marlene's because I haven't played with it before, and I had a little bit of an idea that perhaps I would just create around how I'm feeling. So I guess this girl kind of represents me. So at the moment I've just stamped her onto my page with just some archival ink because I'm going to be adding lots and lots of mediums, so I need the ink to not move when it gets wet products on it. So then I have sketched out, you probably can't see it, but I did sketch out some hair and a bit of a neck. And then what I'm doing is I'm just coming in with some colours. So I've used the Kissy and I've added white paint, which is the lace, to it, and that just gives a nice, so some bits are bright and some bits are a bit softer, and it just helps those colours to blend together rather than having really strong lines and colours. You get a little bit of sort of colours meandering and softness in there, as well as the bright that I love. So I've also come in with some Azure, which I've used white with. I feel like on camera that's mermaid, but I have my Azure out, so I'm pretty sure that's what I used. And then I've also used some Kissy and the Cheesy, and then come in with some Peony as well for some softer areas. So as you can see at the moment, it's a bit of a mess. I'm just blending the colours together, not thinking too much about it at this stage, as this is just background. So now I decide to add a layer of paint to her face. So I've used sand for that, and I will then added a bit of Peony to her cheeks and a bit of Peony in sort of some of the darker areas for some shadowing and just to give her a bit of life. So I'm not being too perfect with her skin at the moment. I'm leaving her eyes completely. I will come back once I've got everything else into place. This is just kind of a base layer, so she might look a bit patchy at this stage, but that's okay. All right, so now I decide, I'm not actually sure what I'm about to do. I think I'm about to do her hair. So I decide to go with a bit more of a contrast. I've sort of got the yellows and pinks and blues, and I think I'll continue a little bit of yellow, but I do end up covering that up. But that's the beauty of acrylic paints. They are really just layers. But I did think a bit more contrast to her hair, so I was thinking blues and greens and purples and pinks in her hair. So I'm just popping those down now. And every now and then I just pop a little bit into the background while I've got that paint on my brush. I just add a few little mark making pieces, and it's just all about the layering. So here I've added a bit of royal paint and again added some white to it just to soften it down a bit as well. And I actually really like, this is the point where I went, okay, I really like the purple as the contrast. So I'm going to kind of stick a bit more with those purples, pinks and blues. So some of the Azure I have mixed, blended with white for softer, and some I've left stronger as that stronger colour. So I felt a little bit like I was losing my my stamped image here. So I'm just kind of going with a fine, this is a fine black pen, just for my visual eyes as I'm painting, so I can kind of use it as a bit of a guide. Okay, so now I decide the hair and the background's fighting with each other a bit. So just to soften that down, I've just added some white paint, which is the lace, all onto the section that's just the background, not the hair. And then I've come in with a really cool stencil called Mask BM19, and I love the large circles. And I just rub that off, that white paint off with a baby wipe through that stencil, and it just gives you a bit of a softer feel to the background. Then I add a little bit of white and mix it with a bit of pink just to get some real softness, and I just make some marks using the brushes into the background, and I just build up quite a few of those colours. So I'm sure you've all seen me do background before, and I just love layering and adding that sort of brush mark that just looks a bit like confetti, and just letting it sort of evolve. So now I'm basically doing the same but to the hair. So adding more of the purple and more of the pink, and a bit stronger colours now. Just adding the mark making. I've given that a quick blast just to work out where I want to come in next. And what I decide to do is grab the floral stamp that comes with the face-to-face, which is gorgeous, and I'm just kind of stamping it in her hair, again with that archival ink. I guess I'm thinking about what's in my head, and what's sort of blocking me, and so I've come in with a couple of other stamps there from the flower stack stamp set. So just some of the individual stamps, and occasionally I've grabbed a piece of paper just to use it as a bit of a mask, so that my flowers don't go into the background, they stay just in that hair section. So I'm really thinking about, at this stage I was thinking about adding sort of good thoughts and flowers and all the good things into my head, rather than my thought of I'm struggling and I'm blocked and all that. So I'm just trying to add some of those nicer thoughts into my brain through my art. And then I went in with a bolder paint pen, a black paint pen, just to mark out that hair and add a few swirls and squiggly bits. And it was at this point that I thought, I don't like that yellow, I need to get rid of it. So here I've come in with Smurf, and I'm just covering it up, and then adding a few little mark makings so it doesn't look like I've covered up a patch of yellow. Tricks of the trade. Okay, so I'm liking it more. She's standing off of her background more now. Her hair is more distinctive as hair and not background. So now I just kind of play and just build up layers and colours, and basically do what I did in the background but in her hair. Now I'm just using a little bit of a finer brush just to do some more mark making as well. So some of these paints are translucent, so going over the stamped images, you still see the little flowers in there. So I wasn't worried about that at all, or worried about restamping. I really like layers and things like that in my work. So at this stage I decided to try and start to add a little bit of a shadow around her neck, and I actually didn't like what I did. I felt like, oh, what did you do that for? And then the black kind of had dried before I could wipe it off. So what I have done is I've come in with a stencil which has got some strong geometric lines. It's Mask BM18, and I've actually gone with it. So I've added more black, and then I've wiped it back off through that stencil to give those stronger lines. Yeah, and look, when I looked at it at the end of what I'd created, I actually wished I'd kept that softer, more lighter background and not added the black. But it was kind of a whoopsie, and the paint had dried, and what are you going to do? So I can create another page at some stage with a bit of a lighter background without the black grunginess. But the thing is, once you've added the black, you just got to work with it. You just got to go with it. So I used the stencil to make it look like I'd done it on purpose. And then what I've done is I've come in with the text play stamp set, which is lots of great words like, you know, be and let be, and artist, and be bold, and yeah, lots of really cool words in that. So I thought, well, if I stamp those with black ink into both her hair and to the background, it kind of goes with my theme, and it also goes with that bit of grunge that I have accidentally added to my page. So I'm just looking through my quotes and deciding what to stamp. So I've gone with the be and let be, also with be brave, and also with artist, and that's all to do with what I was thinking about, you know, and sometimes to not be so hard on yourself, just to go with the flow. And then stamped into her hair, I tended to use a bit of both. I used some of the text play, but some of the words in there actually are on bold black as well. So I've stamped some of those in, saying hold on, and artist, and just kind of randomly through her hair. Okay, so then I decided to let's keep going with this theme. I liked where this was going because I'd tried to sort of go with just good things like flowers, but then putting those words in made me think, no, let's acknowledge what's happening for you at the moment. So I grabbed some of the die cuts and I used the chicken wire, because I thought the shape of the chicken wire kind of looks a bit like a cage, you know, like that it's got me stuck in this headspace. So I cut out some of those just with black paper, and then I cut out some of the bold flowers from the Fauna and Flora set as well. And I've been cutting a lot of those in half just so I can place them, you know, in bits and pieces through the hair, so that it goes with the flowers I've already stamped and it doesn't completely take over. And same with the chicken wire, I'm just cutting little bits down and gluing those on into sections of the hair. So while all that glue dries, I'd come back into the face and I just add some colour to her eyes. And she is starting to come together. So then I do her lips. And it really is all about layering. So you let that dry and then you come back in with the fine pen. And I'm just going over Marlene's stamp here because I'm using acrylic paint, it's dulled down her face a little bit. So I just want to build that back up. So yeah, just coming in, outlining. And I always seem to make a mistake and do a blob, but that's okay. As I said, it's acrylic paint, you can layer it up, and most mistakes can be fixed, or at least made to look like they're not a mistake. So now I'm just building up a bit more colour in her as well. So coming in with, I think I used a bit of Kissy just to give her cheeks a bit of oomph. And now I'm just blending that in, adding a bit more pink. I think the pink just gives her a bit of life, so she can look a bit flat if you don't add some different shading. So I add a bit of the strong pink and then I come over to the top with a little bit of sand just to blend it through. So I'll probably go quiet now and just let you watch this part of the process. You'll see I'm removing bits here and there when I do it, and I think, no, that's not the right spot. And I just quickly have a wet baby wipe handy to remove. So now I'm adding some white paint pen lines to my hair. I just think that really helps highlight her and make the hair not so flat. So I've just done some lines and a few dots as well. And then I went in with a thick paint pen, so now I'm just using a finer paint pen and just adding more lines, and it just helps it to look more natural, and yeah, not so strong lines. It gives you a bit of blend of both. At this point I decided I don't want her to be naked. I decided to put a top on her. So I sort of started off with pink, and then I went over it with some purple, and even just doing that with 2 different tones, you can see the pink peeking through underneath. So it looks more natural than just one flat colour. So now I dig out another metal die called Layered Text Banners, and there's this gorgeous die in there that says Artist, and I thought, oh, that just works with my whole story of this page. So I came in with a bit of white paint and then a bit of soft pink, and just because I just wanted somewhere to put that word, and I knew I wanted to do a tiny bit of journaling and it would just get lost in all my colours. So I just added a little bit of white, and then I cut out the Artist again in black, and I trimmed around the edge because it's sort of got a nice wobbly edge, but I just decided I wanted it smooth because I wanted to come around and add some doodling, which is what I'm doing here. Also, by adding the white, you can read Artist really clearly because it's more, it's not so colourful underneath. So I'm just adding some doodling, and I actually wrote next to Artist in progress. Now I've been hunting around for the Artist little text play stamp again, and I'm just adding more of that in to go with my title. A bit more doodling on her top. And then I decided to add a black border just by using a blending tool to rub some black around the edge, and that just frames it and finishes it off. So now I just really want to add a shadow around her so that she's in the foreground and that background goes back a bit further. So I've just come in with a Stabilo All Pencil in black and basically gone around the edge of her hair, her face and her top. And then I'm just using a water and brush just to blend that. So I don't want it to be really liney and look obvious that I've done it. I really want it to look like a shadow. So a few blends of water help with that process. And then a few more dots here and there, and I think I'm pretty much done. Yep, I'm done. So I'm popping it in my album, and I'll leave you with a few close-ups today, but hopefully this gets me out of my block. So sometimes arting about what we're feeling absolutely helps us to move on. So thanks for joining me. I'll leave you some close-ups of all the busyness in my head that is her hair, and I will be back again soon. So thanks for being with me today. I'd love you to subscribe, and I always love reading your comments. So bye for now.